At 4:27 every morning, Maya Johnson stepped off the city bus and stared at the glass tower that dominated the skyline. The building seemed to touch the clouds. 48 floors of power. 48 floors of wealth. 48 floors filled with people who would never remember her name. Maya adjusted her backpack and walked toward the employee entrance. The cold morning air cut through her jacket. She ignored it. There were more important things to worry about. Her mother's medical bills. The rent due in 2 weeks. Her younger brother's college tuition. The second job she would have to work on Saturday. Life didn't give Maya much time to complain. The security guard nodded. "Morning, Maya." "Morning." She signed in and pushed her cleaning cart into the elevator. The doors closed. The ride began. Floor after floor. Money. Power. Influence. All around her. Yet somehow completely out of reach. Most people would have felt bitter. Maya wasn't most people. Her grandmother had raised her differently. When life refuses to be fair, her grandmother used to say, "Be stronger than life." Those words carried Maya through every difficult day. And she would need them more than ever. Because on this particular morning, destiny had already entered the building. She just didn't know it yet. 3 hours later, employees flooded into Sterling Global headquarters. Expensive suits. Designer handbags. Luxury watches. Perfect smiles. Everyone moving quickly. Everyone chasing success. Maya quietly cleaned around them. Invisible. At least that was how they treated her. Most never looked twice. Some didn't look at all. A few weren't even polite enough to acknowledge her existence. Then there was Rachel Pierce. Vice President. 40 years old. Ambitious. Respected. Feared. Rachel spotted Maya cleaning near the executive conference room. Her expression immediately changed. "Maya." "Yes, This floor should have been finished 20 minutes ago." Maya looked surprised. "I completed my assigned section." Rachel crossed her arms. "Then do it again." Maya knew arguing would accomplish nothing. "Of course." Rachel walked away. But Maya noticed something. Rachel wasn't upset. Rachel was nervous. Very nervous. And she kept glancing toward a locked office at the end of the hallway. A detail that seemed insignificant. A detail Maya would later remember. On the top floor, Richard Sterling stared out the window. At 70 years old, he had built one of the most powerful companies in the country. Magazines called him a genius. Business networks called him unstoppable. Investors called him legendary. None of those titles mattered. Not anymore. Because every night Richard thought about the same question. What happened to her? 27 years earlier, a child had disappeared from his family's life. A child connected to a secret nobody had ever fully explained. Records vanished. Witnesses changed their stories. Evidence disappeared. And somehow the truth stayed buried. Richard spent millions trying to find answers. Nothing. Every lead ended in disappointment. Every clue turned cold. Yet something deep inside him refused to quit. A promise had been made. And promises mattered. Especially the last promise he had made to his dying sister. Find her. 3 simple words. 3 words that haunted him for decades. Then his assistant entered. "Sir, the board meeting begins in 30 minutes. Richard nodded. But his attention remained fixed on an old photograph resting on his desk. A photograph containing a mystery that was finally about to reveal itself. By noon, Maya was cleaning an executive conference room after an emergency meeting. People had left in a hurry. Papers remained scattered across the table. Coffee cups sat abandoned. One leather folder had been forgotten. Maya normally ignored personal items. Today was different. As she lifted the folder, a photograph slipped onto the floor. The image froze her. An elderly woman smiled at the camera. Standing beside her was a young girl. Maya stared. Her heartbeat quickened. The woman looked exactly like her grandmother. Not similar. Not close. Exactly. Impossible. Slowly, Maya picked up the photograph. Her hands trembled. Why would a stranger own a picture that looked like her family? Before she could think further, footsteps approached. She quickly returned the photo. The conference room door opened. And for the first time in her life, Maya Johnson came face to face with Richard Sterling. Neither spoke. Neither moved. Yet something strange happened. Richard's eyes locked onto the silver necklace hanging around Maya's neck. The color drained from his face. For a moment he looked as if he had seen a ghost. Maya noticed. "What is it?" she asked. Richard couldn't answer. Because the necklace wasn't just familiar. It was identical. Identical to the one worn by the missing child in the photograph he had carried for 27 years. And suddenly, for the first time in decades, Richard Sterling believed he had finally found the person he had been searching for. But someone else had noticed the encounter. Standing outside the room, watching through the glass. Rachel Pierce. And the look on her face revealed one terrifying truth. She knew exactly what that necklace meant. Rachel Pierce's heart nearly stopped. From the hallway, she watched Richard Sterling stare at Maya's necklace. Not just stare. Recognize it. That was dangerous. Very dangerous. Because some secrets were worth millions of dollars. And some people would do anything to protect them. Rachel quietly stepped away before either of them noticed her. She walked quickly toward her office and locked the door. Her hands trembled. For 27 years everything had remained hidden. 27 years. And now one necklace threatened to destroy everything. She opened a locked drawer. Inside sat an old envelope. Yellowed with age. The contents had never been shown to anyone. Not even Richard Sterling. Rachel stared at it. Then whispered a sentence she hadn't spoken in years. "No, not now." Meanwhile, inside the conference room, Maya felt increasingly uncomfortable. The billionaire standing in front of her looked shaken. Almost emotional. Which made no sense. People like Richard Sterling didn't get emotional. At least that was what newspapers said. Richard finally spoke. "How long have you had that necklace?" Maya touched it instinctively. "Since I was a child." "Who gave it to you?" "My grandmother." Richard's breathing changed. "Do you have any photographs of her?" The question felt strange. Very strange. Maya hesitated. "Why?" Richard paused. Because he couldn't explain the truth. Not yet. Not without evidence. Not without certainty. Just curiosity. Maya wasn't convinced. But before she could respond, Richard's assistant entered. "The board is waiting." The moment ended. Richard nodded. Then looked at Maya one final time. "I'd like to speak with you again." And with that, he left. Leaving Maya confused. And leaving questions behind. Questions that would soon change her life forever. That evening Maya returned home. Her apartment building was old. The elevator barely worked. Paint peeled from the walls. But it was home. Her mother sat at the kitchen table sorting medical bills. Her younger brother Marcus studied nearby. The atmosphere felt heavy. Like it always did when money became a topic. Maya placed groceries on the counter. Her mother smiled. "Long day." Maya laughed softly. "You have no idea." Then she told them about Richard Sterling. Every detail. The photograph. The necklace. The questions. When she finished, silence filled the room. Her mother's expression had changed. Marcus noticed immediately. "Mom." No answer. "Mama." Still nothing. She looked frightened. Genuinely frightened. Maya slowly sat down. "What is it?" Her mother swallowed hard. "There are things I never told you." The room became completely silent. Maya felt her stomach tighten. "What things?" Her mother looked at the necklace. Then looked away. And suddenly Maya realized something. Her mother knew more than she had ever admitted. Across town, Richard Sterling sat alone inside his office. The photograph lay on his desk. Beside it sat another picture. The image of the missing child. He compared both repeatedly. The similarities were impossible to ignore. The necklace. The facial features. Even the eyes. Yet resemblance wasn't proof. He needed evidence. Real evidence. He pressed a button. A moment later, his chief investigator entered. Samuel Carter. Former detective. Trusted friend. One of the few people Richard trusted completely. Samuel closed the door. You found something. Richard handed him Maya's employee file. I need everything. Samuel frowned. Everything. Everything. Background checks. Yes. Family history. Yes. Birth records. Especially birth records. Samuel understood immediately. After years of dead ends, Richard had finally discovered a lead. And when Richard Sterling found a lead, he never let go. That night Maya couldn't sleep. Questions raced through her mind. Who was the girl in the photograph? Why had Richard reacted that way? Why had her mother looked terrified? At midnight she finally made a decision. She opened an old storage box beneath her bed. Inside were her grandmother's belongings. Letters. Photographs. Memories. Most were ordinary. Then she found something unusual. A newspaper clipping. Folded carefully. Hidden between pages of an old book. The headline shocked her. Missing child from prominent family still not found. The article was 27 years old. Maya's hands trembled. Because attached beside the article was a photograph. And the missing child looked exactly like the girl from Richard Sterling's picture. The next morning Maya confronted her mother. The newspaper sat on the kitchen table. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally Maya pushed the article forward. What is this? Her mother's face turned pale. Maya. What is this? The fear in her mother's eyes answered before words ever could. She knew. She had always known. Tears slowly filled her eyes. There are things your grandmother wanted buried. Maya stood. No. Her voice cracked. No more secrets. Her mother lowered her head. For years she had dreaded this moment. Now it had arrived. And there was no escaping it. At Sterling Global Headquarters, Samuel Carter began his investigation. The results arrived faster than expected. Too fast. Which immediately concerned him. Birth certificates existed. But records before age 6 were strangely incomplete. Medical files were missing. School records appeared altered. Addresses didn't match. Someone had manipulated history. Someone with influence. Someone powerful. Samuel immediately brought the evidence to Richard. Richard studied every page. The more he read, the angrier he became. Because accidental errors didn't happen this many times. This was deliberate. Someone had erased the truth. The question was why. And more importantly, who? Meanwhile Rachel Pierce received an unexpected call. The voice on the other end made her freeze. You told me this would never happen. Rachel closed her office door. I know. You promised. I know. The caller became silent. Then spoke again. If Richard discovers the truth, everything falls apart. Rachel's face tightened. I'll handle it. You'd better. The call ended. Rachel stared at the phone. For the first time in years, she wasn't in control. And that terrified her. Later that evening, Maya continued searching through her grandmother's belongings. Hours passed. Then she found it. A sealed envelope. Hidden inside a false compartment. Her name was written on the front. In her grandmother's handwriting. Maya's hand shook as she opened it. Inside was a letter. A letter her grandmother never intended her to read until the right time. The first sentence changed everything. If you are reading this, the truth has finally found you. Maya stopped breathing. Her eyes raced across the page. Every line revealed another secret. Every paragraph destroyed another piece of the life she thought she understood. And near the end came a sentence that shattered her world completely. You were never supposed to disappear. Maya dropped the letter. The room spun around her. Nothing made sense anymore. Nothing. But one thing had become clear. Someone had stolen her past. And now she intended to find out why. Maya stared at the letter for what felt like hours. The apartment was silent. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, her entire world was collapsing. Slowly, she picked up the pages again. Her grandmother's handwriting covered every line. If you are reading this, the truth has finally found you. For many years I protected you the only way I knew how. One day you will learn that some people value money more than human lives. You were born into danger. You were never abandoned. You were taken. Maya's chest tightened. Taken. What did that mean? The next paragraph was even more shocking. Your mother loved you. She searched for you. She never stopped searching. But powerful people convinced the world you were gone. Tears filled Maya's eyes. The letter continued. I made choices that haunted me every day. Some were right. Some were wrong. But every choice was made to keep you alive. Maya lowered the pages. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Nothing made sense. If this was true, then the life she had lived was built on secrets. And somewhere, someone knew exactly what happened. The following morning Maya arrived at work exhausted. She barely slept. Questions consumed her thoughts. As she stepped off the elevator, employees rushed around preparing for a major company event. No one noticed her. Except Richard Sterling. From across the hallway, he watched her carefully. He could immediately tell something had changed. She looked shaken. Like someone carrying a heavy burden. Before he could approach, Samuel Carter appeared. The investigator carried a thick file. His expression was serious. We need to talk. Richard nodded. The two men disappeared into a private office. Samuel placed several photographs on the desk. Old photographs. Recently discovered. Richard stared at them. Then his eyes widened. One image showed the missing child. Another showed Maya at approximately the same age. The similarities were undeniable. But there was more. Samuel slid another document forward. This witness finally agreed to speak. Richard looked up. A witness? Samuel nodded. Someone who worked for your family 27 years ago. The room became silent. Richard already knew. This could change everything. Across town, an elderly woman sat quietly in a nursing home. Her name was Evelyn Brooks. For years she refused interviews. Refused investigators. Refused questions. But age changes people. And guilt changes them even more. Samuel arrived that afternoon. Evelyn stared out the window. I knew this day would come. Samuel sat down. You know why I'm here. She nodded. The little girl. Silence followed. Then Evelyn spoke. I saw things I shouldn't have seen. Samuel remained quiet. Experience had taught him something important. People reveal more when they aren't interrupted. Evelyn continued. There was an argument that night. Between who? I never saw everyone. What do you remember? The old woman closed her eyes. Memories returned. Painful memories. There was shouting. What about the child? I saw her. Samuel leaned forward. What happened? Tears appeared in Evelyn's eyes. She wasn't lost. The words hit like a thunderbolt. Samuel froze. What do you mean? Evelyn whispered the answer. Someone took her. Hours later Samuel rushed back to Sterling Global. Richard listened carefully. Every detail increased his suspicions. Every detail pointed toward a conspiracy. And then Samuel delivered the final revelation. Evelyn remembered one more thing. Richard stared at him. What? A woman. What woman? Evelyn never learned her name. Richard's pulse accelerated. But she remembered her face. Samuel placed a photograph on the desk. Richard's eyes widened instantly. Because he recognized the woman. Very well. Too well. The photograph showed Rachel Pierce. 27 years younger. Rachel Pierce sat alone inside her office after everyone had gone home. She believed the building was empty. She was wrong. Maya remained on the 32nd floor finishing late cleaning duties. As Maya pushed her cart down a hallway, she heard voices. The voices came from a conference room. The door was slightly open. Normally she would keep walking. Tonight something felt different. Then she heard Rachel's voice. Maya stopped. Rachel sounded frightened. "I told you this situation was under control." A man's voice answered. "It doesn't look under control. No one was supposed to find those records." "They did." Rachel became silent. The man continued. "If Maya discovers who she really is, we're finished." Maya's entire body froze. Finished. Who she really is. The words echoed through her mind. Her heart pounded. Every instinct told her to leave. But she couldn't move. Not now. Not after hearing that. Inside the room, the conversation continued. "We need a solution," the man said. Rachel answered immediately. "There is one." Maya felt a chill run through her body. The tone in Rachel's voice was cold. Dangerously cold. "What solution?" Rachel's response came without hesitation. "Get Maya out of the company." The room fell silent. Then the man laughed. "You think that will stop this?" "It buys time." Time. That was what Rachel wanted. Because every day Maya remained close to the truth was another day the secret could explode. Maya quietly backed away from the door. Her hands shook. Her breathing became uneven. She had just heard enough to confirm something terrifying. People were hiding the truth. And they were willing to take action to keep it hidden. For the first time, Maya felt genuinely afraid. But beneath the fear, another emotion emerged. Determination. If someone had stolen her past. If someone had lied for decades. If someone had manipulated her life. Then she was going to uncover everything. No matter who tried to stop her. No matter how powerful they were. And no matter how dangerous the truth became. Because this was no longer about money. No longer about inheritance. No longer about family history. This was about identity. And Maya Johnson was finally ready to discover who she really was. Maya didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside her apartment made her jump. Every shadow felt heavier than usual. By morning, exhaustion had turned into something sharper. Awareness. She was being watched. She could feel it. At 7:10 a.m., a delivery man knocked on her door. No return address. No sender name. Just a plain brown box. Maya hesitated before taking it. Her hands tightened as she closed the door. Inside the box were photographs. Old ones. Some faded. Some torn. All of them unsettling. The first image showed a young girl standing beside a large house gate. The second showed the same girl holding a silver necklace. Maya's breathing slowed. Because she recognized something impossible. The necklace in the photo was the one she was wearing right now. Her fingers instinctively touched it. Cold. Real. Her heart pounded. Then she saw the final item in the box. A hospital bracelet. Cracked. Old. Her name was partially visible. Johnson. But the rest had been scratched out. Maya dropped the box. Her knees weakened. Someone knew her history. Someone had been watching her for a very long time. At Sterling Global Headquarters, Richard Sterling stood frozen. Samuel Carter had just placed a new file in front of him. Bank records. Hidden accounts. Transactions dating back decades. Richard flipped through the pages. Each line deepened the mystery. Millions had been moved through offshore accounts. Accounts linked to shell companies. And one recurring signature appeared again and again. Richard looked up sharply. Rachel Pierce. Samuel nodded. We traced the accounts back to the early years of the disappearance case. Richard's jaw tightened. This isn't coincidence. No, Samuel replied. It's coordination. Richard leaned back slowly. For decades he believed the truth was simply lost. Now he realized something far worse. It had been buried intentionally. And by people he trusted. He stood up suddenly. I want every connection Rachel has ever had. Samuel hesitated. There's more. Richard's eyes narrowed. Say it. Samuel placed one final document on the desk. DNA results. Partial match. Richard read the report once. Then again. His expression changed completely. Because the match didn't just connect Maya to the missing child case. It connected her directly to Richard's own family line. Richard whispered, "That's impossible." But deep down, he knew it wasn't. Maya returned home that evening with caution in every step. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. She unlocked the door slowly. Stopped. The lock had been tampered with. Her body went cold. She stepped inside carefully. The apartment was clean. Too clean. Someone had been here. Her drawers were open. Her storage box was moved. The letter from her grandmother was gone. Maya's breath caught. No, no, no. She rushed through the apartment. Nothing valuable was stolen. Only specific things. Documents. Photographs. Her past. She grabbed her phone immediately. But before she could dial, a message appeared. Unknown number. One line. Stop searching. You are not ready for the truth. Maya stared at it. Her fear slowly turned into anger. She typed back. Then I'll make myself ready. No reply came. But behind her, a soft sound echoed. Maya froze. She wasn't alone. Richard Sterling requested a private meeting. Not in his office. Not in the building. Neutral ground. A quiet cafe far from the city center. Maya arrived cautiously. Richard was already there. Waiting. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Richard slid a folder across the table. I need you to see this. Maya didn't touch it. Why are you helping me? Richard studied her carefully. Because I think your entire life has been built on a lie. That sentence hit harder than anything before. Maya finally opened the folder. Inside were documents. Her name. Her childhood records. And something that made her stop breathing. A missing child case file. Her picture. Labeled unknown child, suspected abduction case. Maya looked up. Her voice barely came out. What is this? Richard leaned forward slightly. You were never lost, Maya. You were taken. Silence. Heavy silence. Then Richard added the final blow. And I think I know who did it. Maya's hands shook. Who? Richard's expression darkened. Rachel Pierce. The world around Maya felt like it tilted. Everything she had just heard in fragments, everything she had suspected, was now becoming real. Dangerously real. And somewhere in the distance, unseen by both of them, Rachel Pierce was already preparing her next move. Because now, the truth was no longer hidden. It was waking up. The DNA report arrived in a sealed envelope marked confidential. Richard didn't open it immediately. For the first time in years, he hesitated. Not because he feared the result, but because he already suspected it would change everything. Samuel stood beside him. Once you read it, there's no going back, he said quietly. Richard tore the envelope open. His eyes scanned the page. Then stopped. Confirmed match. 99.98%. Richard's hand tightened around the paper. The room felt colder. That means, Samuel began. Richard finished the sentence. That Maya Johnson is biologically connected to my family. Silence followed. A heavy, suffocating silence. Richard slowly sat down. 4 decades he searched for a missing child. Now the truth wasn't just found. It was sitting inside his company, under his own roof, cleaning his floors. And someone had kept it hidden from him on purpose. He whispered, almost to himself. Who would do this, and why? Samuel's expression darkened. There's more. Richard looked up sharply. What now? Samuel placed another file down. This isn't just kidnapping. It's inheritance. Richard frowned. What are you saying? Samuel replied carefully. Someone stood to gain billions if that child never returned. The realization hit slowly. Then all at once. Richard's eyes hardened. Rachel. That night, Richard ordered a full background extraction on Rachel Pierce. What came back changed everything. Rachel wasn't always vice president. 27 years ago, she wasn't even in corporate leadership. She was a junior assistant. Low level. Barely noticed. But she had access. Access to records. Access to private hospital data. Access to legal documents tied to Richard's family estate. Samuel pointed at the screen. She rose faster than anyone else in the company. Too fast, Richard replied. And every promotion coincided with a disappearance of records. Richard leaned forward. She didn't just witness it, he said slowly. She helped cover it. Samuel nodded. And possibly orchestrated parts of it. Richard's jaw tightened. All those years of searching. All those sleepless nights. And the truth had been sitting inside his company all along. Hidden in plain sight. Maya sat on her bed, staring at the documents Richard had given her. She had read them 5 times. Still, it didn't feel real. Her entire identity was being rewritten. A knock came at the door. She flinched. Then slowly opened it. Her mother stood outside. Her eyes were red. "I need to tell you everything," she said softly. Maya stepped aside. Her mother sat down. A long silence followed. Then she spoke. "The day you were born, people came." Maya's heart sank. "What people?" Her mother hesitated. "People with power." Her voice trembled. "They said if we ever spoke about you, we would lose everything." Maya felt anger rising. "You gave me away." Her mother shook her head quickly. "No, I hid you." The room went still. Maya whispered. "From who?" Her mother finally answered. "From the people who wanted you gone forever." Tears fell down her face. "I thought I was protecting you." Maya stood up slowly. "Or hiding the truth." The words landed hard. Her mother didn't deny it. Because she couldn't. The next morning, Richard arrived at the office to find chaos. Security alerts. Locked files accessed. Internal systems breached. Samuel rushed in. "Someone knows we're closing in." Richard's face darkened. "Rachel." Samuel nodded. "But not just Rachel. Someone inside is helping her." Richard looked around the room. Trust had already started collapsing. Meanwhile, Maya received another message. "Unknown number. You should have stayed quiet." Her phone rang immediately after. A distorted voice. "This is your final warning." Maya's voice shook slightly. "Who are you?" A pause. Then, "You are not supposed to exist in this story." The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. This wasn't just secrets anymore. This was control. Someone wasn't just hiding the truth. They were protecting it with fear. And now Maya was standing directly in their way. Richard called for an emergency private meeting with Samuel and Maya. Maya arrived cautiously. This time, she wasn't just confused. She was alert. Ready. Richard placed a final document on the table. "This is the last piece." Maya opened it. Her eyes widened. It was a sealed adoption record. But not standard adoption. It was classified under a legal protection order. Signed by multiple officials. One name repeated in the authorization section. Rachel Pierce. Maya looked up slowly. "So she didn't just hide me." Richard nodded. "She controlled your entire legal identity." Samuel added, "She made sure no system could trace you back." Maya's voice dropped. "Why me?" Richard paused. Then said something that changed everything. "Because you weren't just any child. You were the only heir to everything my family built." Silence. The truth landed like a shockwave. Maya whispered. "So I was never poor." Richard shook his head. "No. You were stolen from your own life." And somewhere far away, Rachel Pierce finally made her decision. She picked up her phone. And called someone she hadn't spoken to in years. "Prepare the contingency plan," she said. "The girl knows everything." Maya sat in silence long after the meeting ended. Richard's words kept repeating in her mind. "You were the only heir." It didn't feel real. Heir to what? A life she never lived. A fortune she never saw. A family she never knew existed. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Samuel. Don't trust anyone at Sterling Global. Not even employees you think are harmless. Maya stared at the screen. Her world was no longer just broken. It was unsafe. She looked at Richard. Tell me the full truth. No more pieces. Richard nodded slowly. Then opened another file. This is your original identity. Maya leaned forward. Inside was a birth record. Her real name was written at the top. Not Maya Johnson. But Amara Sterling. Maya's breath stopped. The room went completely silent. Even Samuel looked away. Richard spoke softly. Your family name was Sterling. Maya whispered the name again. Amara. Her voice cracked. I don't understand. Richard continued. Your disappearance wasn't random. It was planned. Rachel Pierce stood inside a private underground parking level. Dark. Empty. Controlled. A man waited beside a black car. You told me this wouldn't reach this point, he said. Rachel's expression was cold. I underestimated them. You said the records were gone forever. They were, until someone started digging too deep. The man stepped closer. What's your move now? Rachel looked up. For the first time, fear crossed her face. Then it disappeared. Final protocol. The man frowned. You're activating that. Rachel nodded. If Amara Sterling is confirmed publicly, everything collapses. The man lowered his voice. That includes you. Rachel didn't respond immediately. Then, I already accepted that years ago. She turned away. Prepare extraction. The next morning, Sterling Global was in chaos. Board members were divided. Security was doubled. Internal servers locked down. And leaks began spreading through the media. Rumors. Documents. Old photographs. Whispers of a stolen heir. Richard stood at the head of the boardroom. This company has been compromised, he said firmly. A board member interrupted. By who? Richard didn't hesitate. Rachel Pierce. Gasps filled the room. Some denied it. Others stayed silent. Because deep down, they knew something had been wrong for years. Samuel leaned toward Richard. We're losing control of internal systems. Richard nodded. Then we stop playing defense. He turned to security. Lock down every asset connected to the Sterling estate. Maya watched quietly from the side. She wasn't part of the board. Not officially. But everything revolved around her now. One member finally spoke. If this girl is truly an heir, we need confirmation before making decisions. Richard slammed his hand on the table. She is not this girl. Silence. She is Amara Sterling. And for the first time, no one argued. Samuel finally located the final missing witness. A former security driver. Now living under a different identity. When confronted, he broke within minutes. I didn't want any part of it, he said quickly. Samuel pressed. Tell us what happened. The man shook. There was a transfer order that night. Transfer. The child was supposed to be moved for protection. Richard stepped forward. Protection from who? The man hesitated. Then whispered. From inside the family. Silence. The statement changed everything. Maya stepped forward slowly. You're saying my own family was involved? The man nodded. Not all of them. But someone high enough to override everything. Richard's face darkened. There was only one person with that level of authority back then. He didn't finish. But everyone understood. Rachel Pierce wasn't acting alone. Maya's mother arrived at Sterling headquarters unexpectedly. Her hands were shaking. I remember something else, she said urgently. Everyone turned. She looked directly at Maya. The night you were taken, your real mother didn't disappear. Maya froze. She was alive. Her mother nodded. She fought. She begged them not to take you, Tears filled her eyes. But they silenced her. Maya's voice broke. Where is she now? A painful silence followed. Then Richard spoke. We've been trying to locate her for years. Samuel added softly. There's no official record of her after that night. Maya stepped back. So she's just gone. Richard shook his head. No. She's hidden. Just like you were. And for the first time, Maya realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about her identity. It was about a family that had been systematically erased. That night, Rachel Pierce made her last call. This is it, she said. If we don't act now, everything is exposed. The voice on the other end responded calmly. Then remove her. Rachel closed her eyes. You want me to kill her? A pause. No loose ends. Rachel didn't respond immediately. For a moment, something like hesitation appeared. Then it disappeared. Understood. She ended the call. And for the first time in 27 years, Rachel Pierce stopped protecting the secret. And started ending it. The city looked calm that night. Too calm. Maya felt it the moment she stepped out of Sterling Global headquarters. Something was wrong. Richard insisted she leave with security, but Maya needed air. Needed space. Her mind was overloaded with names, lies, and identities that didn't feel like hers, yet belonged to her more than anything ever had. Amara Sterling. The name echoed again and again. As she crossed the parking lot, headlights flickered behind her. A black car. Engine running. No plates. Maya stopped. Her instincts screamed. Then the car moved. Fast. Straight toward her. Move. Someone shouted. She jumped aside just in time. The car swerved violently and crashed into a concrete barrier. Glass exploded. Silence followed. Maya stood frozen. Her breathing sharp. Security rushed in seconds later. Richard arrived immediately after, grabbing her shoulders. Are you hurt? Maya shook her head, shaken. That wasn't an accident, she whispered. Richard's jaw tightened. No, it wasn't. From a distance, hidden in the shadows of another building, Rachel Pierce watched. And for the first time, she realized she might be losing control completely. Samuel arrived with urgent news the next morning. We found her, he said. Maya's heart stopped. My mother. Samuel nodded. But not where we expected. He placed a photo on the table. An unconscious woman in a hospital bed. Monitors attached. Years of silence written on her face. Maya's breath shook. She's alive. Richard confirmed it. But heavily protected. Hidden under a medical identity. Maya leaned forward. Who is she? Samuel hesitated. Then spoke carefully. Her real name is Dr. Celine Carter. Maya froze. That's impossible. Richard nodded. She was one of the top researchers linked to your family's estate medical trust. Maya looked lost. Why would she hide from me? Samuel answered softly. She didn't hide from you. She was forced to disappear after refusing to participate in your abduction. Silence. Heavy silence. Maya whispered. So she tried to save me. Richard nodded. And paid the price for it. Maya's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, anger wasn't just forming. It was burning. Rachel Pierce entered Sterling Global for the last time as an executive. She knew it. Everyone knew it. Security no longer greeted her. Board members avoided her gaze. Whispers followed her through every hallway. She walked straight into the boardroom. Richard was already there. Maya stood beside him. Not as a janitor. Not as an outsider. But as the rightful heir. Rachel stared at her. For a moment, something flickered in her expression. Recognition. Memory. Then it hardened. So it's finally over, Rachel said. Richard replied coldly. Yes. Rachel laughed softly. You think removing me ends this? Maya stepped forward. You stole my life. Rachel tilted her head. I preserved it. The room went silent. Rachel continued. If you had stayed hidden, you would have lived safely forever. Maya's voice sharpened. You call that safety? Rachel's eyes darkened. In this world, truth gets people killed. Richard stepped in. You chose power over truth. Rachel looked at him. I chose survival. Silence. Then security entered. Richard gave a single nod. Rachel was taken into custody. But as she was led away, she spoke one final sentence. This story isn't finished. And for a moment, everyone believed her. Within 48 hours, the truth exploded into the world. News channels, social media, international headlines. Missing heir of Sterling Empire found. Corporate conspiracy exposed. Executive charged in child abduction case. Sterling Global's stock collapsed. Investigations began immediately. But for Maya, none of it mattered. She stood in a quiet hospital room. Her mother, Dr. Celine Carter, slowly opened her eyes. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither spoke. Then her mother whispered, Amara. Maya broke down. Years of silence. Years of pain. Years of being invisible. All released in a single moment. Richard stepped out of the room quietly, leaving them alone. Samuel joined him. It's over, Samuel said. Richard nodded slowly. But his expression was different. Not relieved. Reflective. Not over, he said. Samuel frowned. Richard looked at the hospital door. Just beginning. Inside, Maya held her mother's hand tightly. Outside, the world was rebuilding her identity. But inside Maya's heart, she was still learning who she truly was. Not a janitor. Not a missing child. Not an heir. Something deeper. Someone who had survived being erased. And survived being found. Weeks later, Sterling Global Headquarters. A public press conference. Hundreds of reporters. Flashing cameras. Maya stood at the podium. Silence fell. She took a breath. My name is Amara Sterling. Pause. And I am not what was taken. I am what survived. The room erupted in flashes. Questions. Shouts. Chaos. But Maya didn't flinch. She continued. And this company will no longer be built on secrets. It will be rebuilt on truth. Behind her stood Richard. And beside him, Celine Carter. Alive. Whole. Watching her daughter speak to the world she was once erased from. For the first time, Maya didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. Not by power. Not by fear. But by truth. And somewhere far away, Rachel Pierce listened to the broadcast in silence. Smiling faintly. Because she understood something no one else did. This story had never been about control. It had been about truth refusing to stay buried.